What? X Harper here, WWE2k19. Welcome to yet another video. Today, I wanted to do so many things for you. I wanted to be able to show you universe mode. I wanted to be able to start showing you the booking that I've done. But what I'm going to do is I'll leave that until later, because in the meantime, I've been procrastinating. I've been actually procreating in the WWE sense rather than the sexual sense. And what I've been doing is making some characters. Basically, I still have a list on my computer. I've got like my whole booking mode set on my computer. Just for those of you who don't know, I use Google Sheets to essentially book my whole year of my universe mode. And yesterday I went into that and started creating all of my booking sheets. So I did a whole calendar year, the rivalries and the wrestling matches that I want to have. I'm happy to say I've got my WrestleMania main event sorted, and that's ready to go, even though I've only had one pay-per-view event so far out of about a long way to go in universe mode. But then also, when it comes to the characters, the wrestlers that I've actually got, I am looking at my list right now in front of me on my computer, and I've got 1, 2, 3. I'm missing 3 create a wrestlers, and basically they are Al Snow, Gangrel, and Rick Steiner. Now they go into my different universe brands, but one of the others that I was missing, I looked at this morning on Community Creations, and to be honest with you, I wasn't happy with what I saw. So the best thing for me to do is just to show you what exactly I did to find it. And as I normally do, I just I stay on superstars, go to like my hashtag, and I've got a list of hashtags that I've created over the game. Go to Sandman search. Now what had happened was, essentially, I would go on here and I search the creator wrestler that I want, and then if they're good, I download them. If they're not, I don't. Had a look on here, and I was not a happy man. Sandman, these are just the not very good Sandman models. They've got loads of downloads, which is awesome, but I think that's more because people don't have a choice. And looking on there, I was just like, that's not Sandman. It doesn't look like Sandman. I want to try and actually create my own that looks a little bit better. So I did that this morning, and the outcome is this little fellow on the bottom right here. So I'm going to preview this for you, and this is my version of Sandman. So what I ended up doing, as per usual, was going into Community Creations, going on the internet, finding loads of images, trying to work off of. I actually use Defrac's tutorial for face scans and how to make those look better, and I would advise anybody who's either starting or wants to get better at creating wrestlers just to have a look at his tutorial on YouTube. It's really easy. It's long, but then all tutorial videos are going to be long. And basically what it does, it helps you a lot in terms of the basics and what you need to improve on to just get the game started. So if I jump over to Sandman, I want to basically show you everything I did to create him. He's a lot. I don't like the profile pictures on this game. I think that the way the thumbnails look are very misleading. My D'Lo Brown is a lot better looking, in my opinion, than it appears, and I think you'll agree with the Sandman. Like, he's a lot better when you see him here than actually the game makes him out to be on the profile picture. But that's Sandman. Now I managed to create his logo again, and I'll tell you how I did that, because to be honest, I know a lot of creators do this, and I don't think they really share with their audience how they create these sort of logos and make them really good looking logos. And so he's got one on the front and one on the back. The way that I did this, I literally just googled Sandman's attire. This is all going to sound a little bit weird, but it's true. This is how you do it. You find the picture as high res as possible that has the image showing. Okay, now in this case it was that anything that's in white on that tank top is what I grabbed from Google. So then what I do is I cut the picture out. I take the picture from Google, put it on my desktop. Once I've got it on my desktop, I then move it into Photoshop. And then what I do is grab the Magic Wand tool, and what I do is I erase all the background around the image, so you're left with like a square. Now, obviously Sandman's design was on a t-shirt on a black background. So what I did then was just deleted a square, so you ended up with the Sandman logo looking like it was in a black square. Now, once you get to that point, all you've got to do on Photoshop is use the magic wand tool, and you select the black background and press delete. It really is as simple as that, and then it deletes all of the black for you. Now, you then have to click on specific areas of black, for example, inside the letter D, the letter A, around some of the areas where it hasn't picked up. You just have to delete the black, and it takes about 5 minutes. It's really easy to do. And then I save it as a PNG, high-res file PNG, and as you can see, the result is what you've got. Now, what that means is that instead of, because you may notice on some logos there's like a black square around the logo, and you kind of like, even if I put it up on a black piece of material like this one, it still looks a bit odd and it looks horrible. It doesn't match properly with the black background and the black on the t-shirt, and that's a real nightmare to get those to match. So a PNG just makes sure that there is no background color, which makes it perfect for putting over clothing, because obviously it looks legit, and as you can see in front of you, it looks legit. It's high res, looks great. And did exactly the same for the back. To be honest, I didn't delete the black inside the white square, so all the black that you see with the warning and behind the parental and the bottom bit, I didn't delete those parts of black, because I just thought, do you know what, they're black enough that they kind of would work. And it was a gamble that paid off, to be honest, and it worked. The logo, the tattoos, I've never done tattoos before on any created wrestler that I have. I always just use whatever's in the game. But actually, I simply Googled barbed wire tattoo, and then the one that was the highest resolution that I liked, I just took the PNG of that, edited the color a little bit on Photoshop so that it appeared black, more like a tattoo, rather than a realistic image of barbed wire. And this is what came out. And then obviously I had a look at Sandman's actual tattoos to make sure I got like the design sort of right. Now, the problem with images, the logos don't go all the way around the arm. That's not my fault. That is WWE's fault, so blame them. But that's how I did it. And what you've ended up with is this Sandman that you can see here. So he is now in my universe mode. You can upload him, download him, whatever it is, from Community Creations. As you can see, his attributes are all set. Everything's done that you need. I've got his little menu pose, etc., etc. So that is Sandman finished. Now that we've got Sandman out the way, let's go on to the main content for this video, which is all about match balancing. I was just in a conversation through one of my community chats on PlayStation, and basically what ended up happening, I had a message on there. There was a message feed that I was going through with a guy called Termone73. So Termone73, shout out to you, friend. Me and him were having a conversation. He was asking some questions about match balancing, and basically through the conversation I realized that, and he said it actually, to give him the credit, he said nobody's done a video on this. And I was immediately like, yeah, why haven't I? I've got a channel, I do streaming and all this stuff, so why don't I actually post a little bit of a tutorial on it, and hopefully it will help. Now, before I go into the game balancing, I want you to know I have also done a video on my stat balancing. I've got a recipe that I use for all of the wrestlers' statistics in the game. I recommend highly that you go and look at that video. It's on my YouTube channel. Just watch that first before you do anything else, because it's a long one, but you can skip through it and you'll get the general idea. In fact, once you've watched basically one, you will understand the premise of what I do. And so my game balancing is in the context of the recipe that I use for my stats. So the way that the game balancing looks for me and the product that I get at the end of it is all reliant on the recipe. So if you don't get the same results I do, it could be because you're not using the recipe I use when it comes to the stats. Now, I play the game to Let me pull that back up. I actually play the game, just to let you know, not in the competitive sense. I'm not here to be challenged by the computer. I'm here to book wrestling matches and to get the outcome that I want. And now that they've added this wonderful feature that allows me to switch control mode of the characters in match in real time, I can now control the whole matchup itself. So it really doesn't... I don't rely on it. With that said, I'm a realistic wrestling gamer. I prefer realism over difficulty. I think the big mistake that WE have made in their games, they believe that the difficulty setting relies on the ability for the computer to reverse all of your moves. Now, the problem with that, one, is it's not realistic. Two, it's like a very lazy way for a developer to get out of doing hard work and creating a realistic game. Because what happens is you end up being... It's just like a reverse fest if you're in hard mode. And it's just like, this is crap, because now all I've got to do is punch and kick and run and clothesline. Like, you're limited to the moves you can use, because ultimately you only pull off one move in every 10 that you attempt, and you end up losing half of your stamina and life just trying to attack, whereas you should only really lose stamina and life based on the person attacking you. So I address that. I want a realistic game where the better wrestlers on the game kick out of my finisher. I want a game where it's more realistic. I want to make sure that when I hit a jobber, they're going down. But I can also put it this way. I want to be able to beat a jobber without using my finisher. But the only way to beat one of the legends on the game is using either one or multiple finishers. That's how I want it to be. And so I created the recipe on that sort of annoyance and aggravation that I had with previous games. And this is what I came up with. And you can see here, you've had ages to look at a dormant screen. I apologise, but you've got the AI standing strike reversal rate. I've got that really low. I have all of them set really low. And the reason is because the game overemphasizes the numbers that you give it. If I gave this 50, it would end up doing something more realistic to 70 or 80% rather than the 50% it says at the beginning. So I do it at 20%, 25, 10, 10. I actually do 0 for the finisher reversal, but that's because of the patch. Before the newest patch came out, it reversed every finisher, almost every one that I would try and hook in, and now it doesn't do any of them. So I'm going to move that one up to 5, because I do believe there should always be a chance of a reversal. Always should be a chance, and some of the top guys will probably reverse my finisher, and that's okay because it's realistic, like the best wrestlers would. But you're not going to go into a match with a jobber and then he reverses every finisher that you've got. It just doesn't make sense. Last year it happened to me with Goldberg. Every time I tried to do the signature move, for some reason, every time I did the spear, it would be reversed, and it was so frustrating. I think I went through one match doing 5 spear attempts on a wrestler, and he reversed 4 of them, and it was just like, this is ridiculous. It's not realistic. It's Bill Goldberg. He would have done the spear, knocked the guy flat out, and then done the jackhammer and wins the match. End of story. But in the end, it just became boring for me to play it, because I just felt like I was repeating a finishing move over and over again to try and win the game. Now, I take entrance run-ins down. I'm not a fan of mid-match run-ins, so I take it down to a 1. But as you can see, my preference of all of them is the post-match run-in. The referee downtime I took up because I think realistically when referees get knocked down, they take a long time to get back up. And it also, I'm going to change that because this is before the patch, so I'm going to move that up a little bit more, because what I want is my ref to stay down long enough for me to get out the ring, grab a chair, hit somebody with it, or vice versa. If they want to, or whatever, it doesn't bother me. Just making enough time for something to happen that's illegal is the whole reason and purpose for me of having this setting on the game. Why have the referee downtime if you're not going to be able to utilize it and take advantage with some sort of heel tactic or move? So, special move strength, and again, this is directly related to the conversation I had in the PlayStation community. The argument was, he said to me, it takes 3 finishing moves to finish whoever I'm slapping the move on, and it doesn't make sense. And I agree. So I double the strength to 100. It should be the strongest move in the game. Like, it should be the strongest thing that you can do is your finishing move. Sure, just after that, of course, is a foreign object. If I hit cracking somebody over the head with a chair is going to hurt. Not quite as much as your finishing move, because I think wrestlers generally won't even go for a pinfall after a chair shot. But back in the day, and a lot of my universe mode is based around the Attitude Era, the chair shots, weapons, they meant a lot. If you crack somebody on the head with a chair, then it usually meant you could pin them 1, 2, 3. And if you look, Austin, a lot of Austin's matches, particularly where he ran in, where he wasn't involved, but he would interfere and hit someone with a chair, and then someone would win the bout, a la Mankind winning the title when Austin ran in, and I think it was Triple H or The Rock, he hit The Rock, I think, with the chair, and then Mankind wins the title. If you look at that, the chair shot was the thing that made the difference. Not the finishing moves, but the chair shot. So I believe that the weapons should also be really high up on terms of how much damage they do. I don't know why I took the wrestling duration up. I think I did it because I want to slow the pace down of the game, but there's no real way of doing it. But by changing the chain wrestling duration, it actually just makes it a little bit longer. It makes those sequences a little bit slower and more progressive, which is more fun when you're playing it and you want it to be realistic to the real life product. Now, as for the balancing too, as you can see, everything's 50-50 except for the squash match. I take that up slightly because when I'm Goldberg, I want the option. It's not, remember, squash matches are your choice. People might think, oh, if I set it to 100, every match is going to be a squash match. No, every match won't be a squash match. As long as you don't keep clotheslining or punching and doing quick power moves one after another, you'll be absolutely fine. The point of the squash match is when I'm Bill Goldberg, I want to make sure that my first 3 moves set the tone. If I want it to be a squash match against a jobber, then I actually want to make sure that I can finish the match relatively quickly. Whereas if I'm fighting someone like Bret Hart, I don't want that match to finish quickly. So even if I assault him powerfully at the beginning, I just choose not to act on the squash match rating that comes up, and all you do to avoid it is simply don't do power moves or a clothesline or a heavy punch. You just do a soft grapple, or just do like a soft tap of the punch, and then it's all done and it's easy and you avoid it. So that is my game balancing. Now I want to show you what it's like, but then without doing the recipe, it won't look the same to you. So I'm not going to deceive you by showing you my game, because that won't be, it'll just be misleading unless you do the recipe for mine. Now, if you want to see the match types, and if you want to see the matches live in terms of my recipes, then you're going to have to just keep your eyes peeled, tune into the channel, subscribe, whatever, but just follow my videos and you'll see I'm going to do some universe videos this week. I wanted to start them on yesterday, but I couldn't because I was procrastinating. I'm not going to do it today because my internet sucks in the evenings, and it's a bit of a risk to try and do a whole 1.5 hour show when I've got bad internet. It just won't work. But what I am going to do, I'm going to look at doing them tomorrow maybe, but what I'm going to do is release 2 videos each week. So with my universe mode, I do the booking first for the show. So I'm going to give you an example today of what I've got for my Monday Nitro. So I'm not going to show you all the matches, but I've got a whole booking scheduled here for my Monday Nitro. So you're getting the spoiler now. You get to see the first match as a little bit of a teaser, but then for the rest of the event I've got all my other matches already preloaded. I did them yesterday, and I'm going to do a video that takes you through each of those matches and how I booked it and why. And then I'm also going to, in the description, I will then tell you who's going to win each match. I want to make it easy for you guys to watch my universe mode, okay? And the best way I can think of doing it is 2 ways, or 3 ways technically. The first way is what I've just explained. I'll do the booking video and then leave the winners in the description. So then you either watch who the winners are in the description, you can look yourself, or you can ignore it and just watch the booking. And then later I will do a second video, which will be the event itself. and then what you'll be able to do is watch the match and just see them naturally conclude, or if you already know the results, then you're just watching the match to see how I wrestle with them and what kind of match types I use, etc, etc. So that's how I'm going to do it, and I think that way, if you want a short video where you just see what I'm doing in universe mode, you can do that. But if you want the long version and you want to see everything, then you can also do that. So that is the end of this video for today. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. I hope that this has helped. I hope the match balancing works for you. Hopefully they won't patch the game again and affect it again, as they sometimes have a tendency to do. I'm sure okay for the time being how to change everything back and set things back to normal. Thank you so much, everyone. You have been awesome. I am X Harper. Bye-bye.